Do you want to become an elite shooter? If you do, you're probably doing what I did growing up. You're probably on YouTube watching Steph Curry highlight compilations, Ray Allen videos, Klay Thompson shooting form breakdowns, all these different resources that actually aren't helpful. So you get yourself into this tailspin of what's the perfect form? All these guys are shooting differently. What am I supposed to do? How can I improve my jump shot? And you're getting all this conflicting feedback. So I'm here to tell you there is no perfect form. When you look at these guys, they all shoot so differently, right? And why is that? That's because they're all different people, right? Their bodies move in different ways, they have different athletic builds, they're different heights. But what they do have are three key components. And these are the three key components of the perfect jump shot. So this is going to help you really dial in what is the form that works for me and how can I shoot at the highest level possible. Right? So there's three components. The first is alignment. So alignment just means you need to be lined up towards the basket. Very simple. But this is a little bit different for each player. So when you take the three players that I just referenced, right? If you look at Ray Allen, you look at Klay Thompson, and you look at Steph Curry, they all align themselves a little bit differently. So Steph Curry, he aligns his right shoulder to the basket. So he angles himself a little more, right? He's shorter and he shoots with a high arc and he shoots from very long range. So he has a little bit more of a set shot and he angles himself, and this allows him to get more power in his jump shot. So this is the alignment that I preferred as a player. This is the alignment that I taught myself, and this is the alignment that I now teach my young players when they come to me looking for mechanical shooting feedback. Right? So I teach this angled alignment. But Klay Thompson, one of the greatest shooters of all time, Ray Allen, second best shooter in NBA history, right? They have very straight on alignment. So they actually bring the ball up more through the middle, and their release point is more centered, and they're shooting through their toes that are pointed straight at the basket and up towards the rim, whereas Steph Curry is shooting more through his shoulder line. So that's the difference. But either way, you need to be aligned on every shot. And these players make sure, whether it's Steph Curry aligning his right shoulder to the rim or Ray Allen aligning his toes towards the rim and his chest line towards the rim, they do it every time on every shot, right? It's a non negotiable because otherwise you're relying too much on pushing the ball with your arms and not enough on your legs and really getting the proper power in the jump shot, especially as you get older and you move further back and the line becomes further back. And if you really want to stretch the defense, you got to shoot behind that line. So alignment is the first pillar. The second pillar is continuity. So all this means is that you need to have a continuous jump shot. So wherever your shot pocket is, right? People have shot pockets in different places. It needs to come straight up towards the rim and release. And that's it. It has to be very simple. All the best shooters have very simple shooting forms, right? If you have any kind of significant hitch or if you're holding the ball at the release point, that's going to really impact your consistency and your accuracy. And especially in those big moments, it's going to be hard to step in confidently and make that shot. So, pillar two is consistency. Pillar three is entry. This might sound a little weird, but the third pillar, not the third most important thing, this is arguably the most important thing, is entry. This is literally how the ball goes into the basket, right? So it should be descending at an optimal angle, right? And there's a bunch of research on this. Feel free to look it up. I'm not going to be too long winded with the research. I don't want to nerd out for you guys, but the ball needs to be descending at an optimal angle to create the largest surface area of entry. If you think about the rim as a circle, right? You're just trying to get this ball into the circle. If you've never done this, I really encourage you to do this. Hold a rim in your hands, right? If you're at Dick's Sporting Goods or any other sporting goods store and they're selling rims, just pick it up. You can literally fit two basketballs side by side in the rim. That's how wide the rim is, right? So when you do that exercise, you kind of think to yourself, why do I ever miss? Right? The rim is twice as wide as the ball. It should be very easy, right? And the reason why you might not be as accurate as you should be is because you're not optimizing the circle, right? You're not optimizing the area of entry. So if your jump shot's too flat, you're going to hit the front of the rim or the back of the rim more times than not because you're going to be shooting the ball with too flat of an angle, right? So the second piece of this, right? And before moving on, the one thing that I think is really important to acknowledge is that arc is different for different players, right? So shorter players will probably need more arc because the rim's 10 feet high, right? So if you need to achieve that perfect optimal descent angle, if you're a player that's 5'10 or 6 foot or even up to 6'4", right? You're going to need to get the ball up and over the rim and down again with an ideal descent angle. If you're a taller player, you look at guys like Joel Embiid, you look at guys like Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Dirk Nowitzki. These are all incredible shooters. They don't need as much arc because they're already 7 feet tall. So their release point is so high that they don't actually need to put as much arc because they're closer to that descent angle. Ray Allen is an interesting example because he jumped so high on his shot and he had such a high release point. He was kind of notorious for somewhat of a flat jump shot. But because he was jumping so high, he still was able to optimize that entry circle. And he obviously was, he's is one of the greatest shooters to ever live. So that's the first piece of entry is the angle. The second piece of entry is the rotation. So when you see that picture perfect jump shot and that freeze frame where the buzzer's going off and that ball is rotating, right? That rotation is what allows incredible shooters to be as accurate as they are. So that rotation allows players to control the ball, right? Because spin can control the ball more easily, right? If it's knuckling in the air, you don't have as much control. And if you're spinning it to the side, right, it's not coming off your fingertips as cleanly, right? So there's different forces going on. Maybe you're pushing it a little bit to the side, or maybe the ball's not centered in your hand properly. These things can cause the ball to not achieve that perfect backspin. And when you have that perfect backspin, it means your hand is guiding the ball perfectly towards the rim. And then once you hit that, again, optimal descent angle, and the ball hits the rim, that backspin is going to send it downwards, right? So if you think about how the ball interacts with the rim when it's spinning backwards, it's going to hit and it's going to bounce down, right? So you want to promote that downward trajectory from the ball. So if you do hit the rim, right, it sends the ball downwards, not backwards or sideways or upward, right? So once that ball hits, it's going to soften and it's going to have a much higher chance of going in. So that's the third pillar. I hope this was helpful. If it was, like the video. In the comments, let me know what other content you want to see. Subscribe for additional content. Learn how to become an elite shooter. And if you want to see more short form content, follow me on Instagram at Basketball Skills Academy. And for the shooters out there who love this video, follow the Shooter's Playbook.